We swipe, we scroll, we double tap. Yet so often, the glow of the screen leaves us feeling entirely alone. The digital spaces designed to connect us are increasingly engineered to do the exact opposite, curating our desires and isolating us to maximize corporate profit. To understand how we ended up here, we need to look backwards, specifically to a fictional treatment for a romantic comedy set in 1980s Paris called Hearts on the Line. This absurdist, retro-futuristic story acts as a perfect mirror for our very modern tech anxieties. This is Paris in 1985, a landscape where centuries-old architecture and cobblestone streets were being wired for a nationwide digital grid. Long before the modern internet, France rolled out the Minitel. This little beige box provided by the phone company sat on millions of kitchen tables. It offered chat forums, directory lookups, and a glimpse into a connected future. By examining this primitive teletext network, we get a clear view of the exact moment a public square of free communication was fenced off and monetized. At the center of our story are two lonely 52-year-olds, Alistair, a reserved British expat, and Fatou, a Senegalese-French craftswoman. They find a genuine spark of connection over a peanut stew recipe on a free Minitel crafts forum. Fatou's world is rooted in the physical. She sells handmade goods at the flea market, surrounded by tactile materials, vibrant fabrics, and the chatter of real people. Hovering above them is our antagonist, Henri Bouchard, the CEO of teletext, a massive media conglomerate that controls much of the Minitel infrastructure. Henri monitors the network from a shadowy control room, and he sees Alistair and Fatou's budding romance as an existential threat. If users can form meaningful relationships on free forums, his company can't extract a toll for that interaction. Their story highlights a recurring friction, the human drive to share and connect, running headfirst into a systemic architecture built to toll that very impulse. Classic romantic comedies usually rely on a simple misunderstanding to keep the lovers apart. Hearts on the Line replaces human error with deliberate systemic sabotage. When they plan their first in-person date, the system intentionally alters their messages. It sends Alistair to a cafe in Montmartre and Fatou to a completely different cafe across town with the exact same name, ensuring they never meet. When that fails to ruin the friendship, the corporation escalates to data weaponization. Technicians mine their private chat logs for their deepest insecurities, generating spoofed messages. This tricks Fatou into thinking Alistair insulted her crafts, and Alistair into thinking Fatou mocked his divorce. The endgame here is purely financial. By breaking their organic bond and leaving them emotionally vulnerable, the corporation hopes to drive them directly into their paid, premium dating service. While this plays out on a clunky 1980s screen, it mirrors the modern social media landscape. Today's algorithms routinely exploit our anxieties and divide our attention to keep us constantly engaged, deeply isolated from each other, and dependent on their platforms. Defeated by the cruel messages, Alistair and Fatou log off, retreating deeply into their separate, lonely daily routines, trusting the corrupted digital interface over the genuine kindness they had originally seen in each other. The cycle breaks when a physical object arrives in the mail. Before the sabotage began, Fatou had sent Alistair a handmade recipe booklet, complete with pressed flowers and handwritten notes. Holding this undeniable, tactile proof of her affection, Alistair immediately realizes the sterile text on his Minitel screen was a lie. When a digital ecosystem becomes compromised by corporate interests, the only reliable way to verify the truth is to step outside the network and safely rely on out-of-band analog communication. Realizing they've been played, our protagonists fight back. They infiltrate the teletext data center under the cover of night, treating this digital fortress like a physical bank vault. Rather than trying to outcode the conglomerate, they use what they know. Fatou deploys her craft supplies, copper-coated yarn to short-circuit servers, and uses knitting needles as screwdrivers. By physically jacking into the terminal hardware, they override Henri's system purge and take full control of the entire French teletext network. They don't win by being better hackers. They win because messy, physical human ingenuity will always find a way to overwhelm a rigid algorithmic system that only understands cold logic. As their pixelated heart flickers on millions of terminals, the digital signal acts as a catalyst, prompting neighbors to log off, leave their apartments, and step into the physical space of the city. Alistair and Fatou demonstrate that while the Minitel brought them together, the terminal was never the final goal. The tech serves its purpose only when it successfully renders itself obsolete, replaced by a conversation over real coffee in a real cafe. We don't have to accept isolation by design. We can log out, step outside our curated algorithms, and refuse to let any tech conglomerate dictate the terms of our humanity.